Have you ever walked away from a conversation, even after pouring your heart out, and still felt like the loser? Have you ever swallowed the lump in your throat, when every word you spoke only pulled you further away from your inner strength? Maybe you are living in a world where the loud, the arrogant, those who fake confidence to hide their emptiness inside, occupy space with noise and domination. And maybe, deep down, you once believed that staying silent was a sign of weakness, that not responding meant failure. But what if I told you everything you were taught about power and words was just an illusion? What if I told you true strength was never found in arguments, but in absolute silence? Nietzsche, the most misunderstood thinker in history, saw a truth that most of the world dares not admit. The one who talks the most is often the weakest. In today's video, I will take you on a special journey, where silence is no longer helplessness, but becomes an invisible weapon, a force that makes anyone in front of you expose their deepest vulnerabilities. If you have ever been tired of being underestimated, if you have ever felt drowned out in the noise of the crowd, then this is the video for you. Don't forget to like the video to support the channel, and subscribe so you won't miss any future journeys into inner power. Let your silence from today forward no longer be surrender, but a silent declaration that makes the whole world take notice. Are you ready? Let's begin. Part 1. The hidden truth. The loudest one is often the weakest. Be honest with yourself. Why is it that every time we face insult, interruption, or disrespect, we feel the urge to react immediately? Why, when someone challenges our opinion, does a surge from deep within push us to argue, to defend ourselves at all costs? The truth is, we have been programmed to believe those who stay silent are the losers. That truth must be defended at all costs, that staying quiet in the face of attack equals defeat. But Nietzsche, with eyes that pierced the human soul, saw a harsher reality. That urge to react is not strength. It is weakness. Behind every justification is an ego trembling at the thought of judgment. Behind every argument is a fear that cannot bear being misunderstood. And so, every time you feel the need to speak up to defend yourself, you are unknowingly playing someone else's game. You are pulled out of your center of control and lose your most precious weapon, your calmness. Nietzsche called it herd morality, the behavior of those who live dependent on others' approval. They are not truly seeking truth in each debate. They are seeking security for their fragile egos. And in that game, the first one who rises to justify is already the loser. But if you know how to stay silent, if you can control the urge to argue, your presence will become mysterious, threatening, and unpredictable. And when others grow uncomfortable, awkward before your stillness, they will reveal their deepest weaknesses. Silence is no longer retreat. It becomes an invisible weapon, a sharp blade slicing through all masks. So, how do you turn silence into a weapon of power? How do you control every situation without speaking a single word? In the next part, we will dive deeper into Nietzsche's metaphysical philosophy, exploring the figure of the Übermensch, The archetype of a human who transcends all common limits and shapes the world through sheer silent presence. If you are searching for a way of living that is not just stronger, but also deeper and freer than ever before, make sure to like this video to support the journey and subscribe to the channel to walk with me to the very end of the power of silence. Part 2. Defining true power. Silence is domination. True power never comes from screaming. It doesn't lie in endless justifications, in never-ending arguments, nor in desperately seeking the approval of the crowd. True power is the ability to stay rooted in yourself, even when everything around you is in chaos. Nietzsche showed us one thing: the strong do not need to prove themselves. They do not need to scream to be understood. They do not need to use arguments to force others to agree. The strong only need to exist, and their silent presence alone changes the entire battlefield. When you do not rush to react, when you are not dragged into emotional battlegrounds, you stand above the psychological games unfolding before you. You are no longer a pawn controlled by others. You become the invisible hand that holds the entire chessboard. Silence, in the hands of someone who knows how to wield it, is not absence. It is a heavy presence, an invisible pressure that others cannot endure. You do not need to persuade anyone that you are right. Your silence forces them to question themselves, forces them to reveal themselves, forces them to collapse under the weight of the emptiness they cannot control. That is true power. No noise needed, no words required, just a look, just presence, just inviolable silence. But to reach this level, you must train harder than anyone else. You must learn to restrain the impulse to respond. You must learn to endure misunderstanding and judgment without flinching. Because every time you get angry, every time you rush to argue, you strip away your invisible armor and hand your opponent a clear view of your deepest vulnerability. Remember, those who truly dominate do not need to win every petty debate. They win by not playing, by letting others collapse in their own insecurity. If today's words have touched something deep within you, do not hesitate to hit like, to let me know you are walking this journey with me. And if you truly want to embody the keeper of this invisible power, make sure to subscribe to the channel today, because what we are about to explore next will not just change the way you communicate with the world, it will forever transform who you are from within. Are you ready to step into a higher level, where silence is no longer a defensive weapon, but becomes the sharp blade that shapes your entire life? Part 3. The symbol of the Übermensch and the power of silence. Nietzsche did not write for the masses. He did not craft his words for the weak-hearted, those always seeking consensus, always scrambling for acceptance from others. He wrote for a rare group, those who dare to look deep within themselves, who dare to confront the emptiness inside their souls, and from there, be reborn into something entirely new. This figure, Nietzsche called the Übermensch, the overman, not a noisy superhero, not someone who forces the world into submission through violence, but someone who creates their own values, a soul no longer bound by herd morality, by societal expectations, or by the fear of rejection. The Übermensch does not need to argue. He does not need to persuade anyone. His silence is an unspoken command. He walks into a room, and without speaking, without proving anything, without shouting, His silent yet overwhelming presence forces everyone to take notice, forces them to turn inward and examine themselves in a world where noise is used as a weapon. The one who remains silent is the true dominator, while others hastily reveal their insecurities through every word they speak. The Übermensch remains silent, watching, understanding. Every moment of silence he creates is a sharp blade, cutting through every mask others try to wear. But do not be mistaken. The silence of the Übermensch is not indifference. It is strategy. It is the absolute control of inner power. Every glance, every nod, even every pause in his breathing is calculated. Nothing wasted, nothing missing. Precise. Like a perfect strike. And that is what makes the Übermensch so terrifying. He is not pulled into the chaos of the crowd. He does not need to prove himself. He does not allow anyone to control his emotions. He does not seek approval, because he has already become approval for himself. If you feel a quiet fire igniting inside you, if there is a voice within whispering, "This is the power I want to claim," hit like on this video. And if you are truly serious about awakening the Overman within yourself, subscribe to the channel right now, because the next parts will pull you away from the old world you once knew and lead you into an entirely new level of existence. Now, prepare yourself for the next section, where we will dive deep into the psychology of silence and discover how your stillness will become a storm in the minds of others. Part 4. The psychological impact of silence on others. Do you know what truly drives people into panic? It is not shouting. It is not rage. It is not criticism. It is silence. When you remain silent during a confrontation, you are not just withholding words. You are holding up an invisible mirror deep into the soul of your opponent. And in that mirror, they no longer see you. They see themselves, their fears, their cracks, the lies they try to cover up every single day. You stay silent, and their insecurities rise to the surface. You do not respond, and their fear of judgment begins to gnaw at them. They start wondering, what is he thinking? Is she seeing through me? Did I just reveal a weakness? The human brain hates uncertainty. When it receives no response, it automatically generates the worst-case scenarios. It inflates worries, activates defense mechanisms, and kills its own confidence. Nietzsche saw this long before modern science named it. Silence is the sharpest blade. It makes no sound, but cuts deeply into the most vulnerable place, the ego, and even more ruthless. When you stay silent toward manipulators, those who thrive on controlling others' emotions, you shatter their entire power structure. Because manipulators cannot survive without your reaction. They need you to get angry. They need you to justify. They need you to explain, to blame, to cry, to fight back. But when you stand there, calm, silent, staring at them with steady eyes, their entire scheme falls apart. They lose direction. They reveal the cracks they spent their entire lives trying to hide. If you are feeling the silent power rising within you, if you sense a part of you awakening, hit like to affirm, I choose the power of silence. And do not forget to subscribe, because the upcoming parts will dive even deeper and get even more tactical, helping you turn your stillness into an unstoppable weapon. Because silence does not just make your opponents lose control. It stirs the deepest wounds inside them. Wounds that, if you know how to touch, will cause their entire world to collapse. Without you ever saying a word. Part 5. The tactical weapons of silence. Do you think silence is simply not speaking? No. In the hands of an ordinary person, silence is just avoidance. But in the hands of someone who masters themselves, silence becomes an arsenal of tactical weapons, where every strike is calculated, and every pause carries destructive power. There are 4 weapons you must master if you want to truly command the art of silence, and today, I will hand them to you. 1. Restraint. Kill the urge to react. The weak are led by their emotions. The strong control emotions like a tamed beast. Every time you feel the urge to respond, to argue, to prove yourself, remember the trap is already set. Your first weapon is internal silence. No reaction, no justification, no need to be understood. Let the stillness within you become a steel wall against the arrows of public opinion. 2. Observation, reading your opponent in silence. When others speak, they reveal far more than they realize, but most people only listen to argue back. You will not. You will listen like a hunter, listening to every breath, every subtle shift in tone or gaze, collecting the invisible gaps they unknowingly expose. The more they talk, the more they betray themselves. You simply remain patient. No rushing, no falling into emotional traps. 3. Prolonging silence. Creating invisible pressure. Prolonged silence in a conversation is a poison to the ego of your opponent. When you refuse to respond, you force them to face the noise within their own mind. They will grow anxious. They will grow insecure. They will fill the silence with their own mistakes and weaknesses. Let that suffocating silence crush them, while you remain calm and still. 4. Unpredictability. Becoming the darkness. They cannot anticipate. When they cannot predict what you will say, or whether you will even speak at all, you hold absolute control of the game. Unpredictability breeds silent fear. They are forced to be cautious. They are forced to tread carefully with every word and every action. You are no longer reacting to the world. You become the center of gravity, pulling everything toward you if you feel the power rising within you. If you understand that silence is truly the ultimate weapon, hit like to declare, I choose to master myself, and do not forget to subscribe. Because in the next part, we will dive into a darker truth when silence stops being strength and becomes unconscious surrender. You must know that boundary, or your own silence will one day consume you. Part 6. Warning. When silence becomes dangerous. Submission. Not all silence is power. There is silence that is not strategy, but surrender. Have you ever wondered, is your silence a steady calm, or just fear of rejection in disguise? Some people stay silent, not because they master themselves, but because they have been broken from within. They swallow their anger, their resentment, everything they long to say, because they have convinced themselves, let it go. Don't make it worse. Stay silent. Keep the peace. Accept it. It's easier that way. But Nietzsche warned us, this is not peace. It is spiritual suicide. Every time you stay silent out of fear, out of avoidance, out of desperation for acceptance. You slice away pieces of your soul until you no longer recognize who you are. When you allow silence to become an excuse for compromise, for surrendering your dignity, you are no longer living. You are merely existing, a shadow of what others want you to be. That kind of silence does not make you strong. It steals your strength. It teaches others that you will always yield, always back down, always accept being pushed aside, without ever fighting back. Look back at yourself. How many times in your life have you kept silent, only to walk away bitter, blaming yourself for not speaking up, for not standing tall? How many times have you whispered to yourself, "Stay silent, keep the peace," while inside you felt smaller, weaker, and more invisible than ever? If these questions are stirring something deep inside you, if a part of you is waking up, hit like to affirm, "I refuse to live as a shadow," and don't forget to subscribe, because in the next part, we will reach the true turning point. How to be reborn from submissive silence into the silence of a true dominator. True silence is not born from fear, but from strength, from indestructible will, from the fierce declaration, "I no longer need anyone's permission to exist." Part 7. Rebirth from submissive silence to dominating silence. It is time. It is time for you to kill the silence of a slave and resurrect the silence of a ruler. No more silence out of fear. No more silence out of submission. No more silence to appease the outside world. From today forward, your silence will become a declaration. You will stand there, not as someone avoiding conflict, but as an invincible warrior. No need to shout. No need to plead. No need to be understood. You exist as a silent pillar in the middle of the storm, and it is this silent presence that will unsettle the weak, confuse the manipulators, and force the world to remember you. Even if you never utter a single word, silent, yet present, silent, yet shaking the very ground beneath you. No longer submissive compliance, no longer an excuse for fear, but the unshakable affirmation, "I do not need permission to exist. I exist, and that is enough." You will no longer need to win every petty argument. You will no longer need to prove you are right. Your presence, your calm, cold gaze, will say everything. And when you do speak, if you choose to speak, every word will cut like a precise blade, slicing through every excuse, every trick, every false mask. If you are ready to abandon old submission and step into the era of self-mastery, hit like on this video. And if you are truly serious about becoming an Übermensch, a free and steadfast soul, subscribe to the channel, because the lessons ahead will take you into territories few dare to tread. Remember, the silence of a true dominator does not beg for respect. It commands it. And from today, every moment you choose silence the right way is an invisible strike, cutting through the chains that have bound you for years. Are you ready? Ready to be silent? Not as someone who endures, but as an undefeated king, standing tall amidst a chaotic world. If you are, then come with me into the final part, where silence is no longer emptiness, but the purest force of a human soul reborn. Conclusion. The final ascension. The silence of the victor. Now, you understand. Silence is not the empty space between words. It is not the absence of action. It is not weak submission. Silence is the purest presence of inner strength. When you no longer react blindly, when you no longer need validation from anyone, when you can stand amidst insults, amidst scrutinizing eyes, amidst the screams of the world, and still keep your soul silent. That is the moment you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You have become a true creator. Nietzsche did not write for weak souls, who resigned themselves to live borrowed lives through the eyes of others. He wrote for those who dare to step away from the crowd, who dare to endure the loneliness of the pioneer, who dare to create their own world, even when all of humanity turns against them. And now, the real question for you is, do you dare? Do you dare to stay silent, not out of fear, but because you have grown too strong to argue? Do you dare to walk forward without needing to be understood, because you already understand yourself too well? Do you dare to let your silence echo as an immortal declaration that says, I do not need permission to exist. I am myself. If you have listened this far, I believe you are ready to step through that door. Hit like to affirm to the world and to yourself that I choose the silence of the victor. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is only the beginning of your true journey, the journey of mastering your inner world and mastering the outer world. Remember, the weak scream, the strong remain silent, the wise choose their moment, and you, from this moment onward, are no longer merely a silent person, but a living, breathing, unstoppable force. We will meet again on the path of the resilient souls, but from today forward, walk in the silence of one who has been reborn. Welcome, Übermensch.